At the family dinner, my uncle said, "Derek doesn't mind paying. He's lonely and rich." The bill was $1,240. I nodded, stood up, and said I was going to the bathroom. But instead, I drove straight to the airport. "Get the lobster tower," I heard Rachel say, snapping at the waiter. "Derek's paying." She acted like I was her servant. I smiled. That's what I always do. Smile, pay, and stay quiet. There were 12 of us at the table. My so-called family. Dad was on his second glass of wine. Rachel's boyfriend wouldn't shut up about the risotto. My sister was live streaming the restaurant. Mom brought her little dog in a designer purse. And me? I was the host. The wallet. The joke. The waiter gently placed the bill in front of me. I hadn't asked. I never did. They just expected it. Then Uncle Steve leaned back and said it again. "Derek doesn't mind paying. He's lonely and rich." Everyone went quiet. Rachel tried not to laugh. Mom looked unsure whether to defend me. Dad said nothing. The silence felt heavy. Embarrassing. "Excuse me," I said, even though I'd heard him loud and clear. Uncle Steve just shrugged. "What else are you going to spend your money on, kid? No wife, no kids. Might as well spend it on people who built real families." Anger rose in me. I looked around. No one said a word. Not Rachel, who always calls me when she's broke. Not Mom, who tells people I'm too busy to find love. Not Dad, who hasn't hugged me since I was 12. I looked at the bill. $1,240. I smiled. "Fair enough," I said and stood up. "Where are you going?" Mom asked. "Bathroom," I said. But I didn't go to the bathroom. I walked out. Past the front desk, past the valet, past the fake life I thought I needed. I got in my car. No music. No phone calls. Just the words in my head. Lonely and rich. I drove past my condo, past the city, straight to the airport. No bags. No plan. Just one clear thought. They're not my family. They're my audience. And the show's over. Then I remembered something. Not a moment, but a pattern. A sickness I let grow since the day I made my first million. There was a time I didn't pay for everything. Back then, I was invisible to them. Not hated, just ignored. The kind of person they forgot to text. The kind who found out about family trips after they happened, on Instagram. That was me before the money. Just a quiet guy, always working, a little awkward, alone with my startup and coffee. I remember one Thanksgiving. I drove 2 hours to be there. Brought wine and pie. No one said hi. No one saved me a seat. I ate in the kitchen while they laughed at the table. Rachel joked that I looked like a ghost. Uncle laughed. Dad chuckled. Even Mom said, "She's just teasing." I left early. No one noticed. Then my app sold for $38 million. Just like that, everything changed. I didn't even tell anyone. They found out anyway. Money always spreads. The first call was from Mom. "Derek, baby, we're so proud. We were just talking about you." That was a lie. I hadn't heard from her in 7 months. Then Rachel called. "Hey cousin, I have a business idea. Jewelry. I just need a little help. Maybe $5,000. I gave her $10,000. The next day she posted, "So blessed to have supportive family." No tag. No thanks. 2 days later, my dad called me. He said the mortgage was behind and that it was just a rough patch. He used a serious voice, saying from one man to another, like we were suddenly equals, just because I now had more money than he'd ever had. I sent him the money. That was just the beginning. After that, they stopped pretending. Rachel called every week. My rent's late. My car broke down. I got dumped, need a girls' trip. Uncle Steve wanted help with taxes. Mom cried on the phone saying she couldn't afford to visit her sister, but I could hear her booking a flight while still pretending to sob. And me? I kept giving. Deep down, I hoped that if I gave enough, maybe they'd love me. The first time I paid for dinner at Chateau, they actually clapped. Uncle Steve raised a glass. To Derek, our very own tech genius. Mom even wiped her eyes, like I'd cured cancer. Looking back, I should have known. But I wanted it to be real. I wanted to believe they finally saw me, not just my money. But it didn't stop at dinners. I paid for birthdays, anniversaries, surprise parties, everything. Rachel even threw a tantrum when I didn't fly her to Napa for her birthday. You're rich, Derek. What's a few $100? That few hundred became $12,000. She didn't even say thank you. Last Christmas, I brought fancy gifts for everyone. Designer bags, watches, even a PlayStation for Rachel's boyfriend, who never remembers my name. And what did I get? A world's best uncle mug and a pair of socks. I'm not even an uncle. That night, while they partied, I sat alone by the fire. I realized something. I had become the guy who bought his way into the family, who paid for love and monthly doses, who smiled just to feel like he belonged. But last night, when Uncle Steve said, "Derek doesn't mind paying. He's lonely and rich," and they all laughed. That wasn't just a joke. It was a truth. A cold, ugly truth. They never saw me. Only what I gave. And honestly, they liked it better when I was invisible. Just as long as my card worked. I didn't come back because I missed them. Not for closure. I came back so they could finally see what they turned me into. So they could face the man they used, the wallet they drained. They booked brunch at Chateau again. Of course they did. They thought I was still in Tokyo. But I had been watching. Rachel posted a boomerang with champagne. Uncle Steve shared a family time photo. Mom tagged me in a picture where I wasn't even there. Just an empty seat with my name card. That's when I got in my car. When I walked into the room, time stopped. The noise, the laughs, the fake smiles all paused. Mom stood up first. Her voice was sweet and fake. "Derek, you're back. We were so worried." Worried I'd cut them off. Not worried about me. I looked straight at her. "Did you miss me? Or just my credit card?" Gasps. Dad cleared his throat. "Son, this isn't the time." "No," I said. "This is the perfect time. Because for once, you're all sitting and actually listening." I reached into my coat and pulled out a thick envelope. Put it on the table. Rachel grabbed it. "What's this?" "Receipts," I said. "Years of them. Every dinner, every flight, hotel, gift, driver, transfer, rent payment, and emergency. All organized." Uncle Steve laughed. "You've been tracking us?" "Not tracking," I said. "Documenting the robbery." I pointed at Rachel. "Napa weekend. You said it'd be cheap. Final cost, $12,437. You ghosted me for 3 weeks after." Her jaw clenched. I said, "Thank you." She said nothing. "No, you posted thank you. You never said it to me." I turned to my dad. "You needed mortgage help. I paid. Again and again. You said you felt bad, but never enough to stop asking." He stood up. "You're embarrassing yourself." "No, Dad. I'm showing Mom the truth." I turned to her. "You cried on the phone, said you couldn't afford to visit Aunt Linda. I sent the money while you were still pretending to cry. And then you posted poolside pictures from a 5-star hotel. You tagged the dog, not me." I looked at the whole table now, louder than before. "You only call me family when you want money. When I needed support, you ignored me. You only called when you needed me to pay." This time they were speechless. No fake smiles, no polite lies, just shocked faces. Rachel spoke first. "So what? You're rich. You make it sound like you were doing us a favor. You just wanted to feel important." "No," I said. "I just wanted to feel loved. And when I realized I couldn't buy that from you, I still paid, hoping I was wrong." I looked each of them in the eye. I wasn't wrong. Uncle Steve slammed his glass down. "You're acting like a child." I gave a bitter laugh. "No. I'm acting like someone who finally sees the truth. You're not family. You're users. You dress nice, but you're just debts in suits." I turned to the waiter, who looked nervous. "Split the bill. 12 ways." He blinked. "Sorry, you heard me. Let them pay for once." My mom gasped. "After all these years, you're making us pay?" I leaned in and said quietly, "Call it interest." Rachel stood up angry. "You'll regret this, Derek. Once the money stops, so does the love." I know. It went quiet. Then I said the truth out loud. "That's how I know who's real." I didn't storm out. I didn't yell. I just walked out slowly, calmly, more peaceful than I'd felt in years. I left the table, the lies, the guilt. And for the first time ever, I didn't pay. The first 3 days after that, silence. No calls. No messages. Not even a fake, "Hope you're okay" post online. It wasn't lonely. It was peaceful. Number 2 a.m. texts. No fake emergencies. No money requests with "love you" at the end. I could finally think clearly, for the first time in a long time. But on day 4, the silence broke. A courier brought a letter. Thick paper, fancy envelope, smelled like money and trouble. Inside, a lawsuit. Filed by my parents, Rachel and Uncle Steve. They were suing me. Claim. Emotional and financial abandonment. They wanted $2.3 million. I read it 3 times. They said I ruined their mental health, hurt their lifestyle, caused them material damage. In other words, they couldn't afford Botox or fancy wine anymore. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was insane. They weren't just greedy, they were smart. If guilt didn't work, they'd use the courts. That night, I sat outside with a drink. No skyline. Just wind in the trees. And I told myself 2 things. They were never going to stop. Neither was I. 2 days after the lawsuit, I got a message. Not from a lawyer. Not from a reporter. From Emily. Yes, that Emily. The woman who left me 3 weeks before our wedding. No goodbye. No explanation. Just silence. Her message said, "Derek, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from. But I saw what your family is doing, and I need to tell you something. In person." I didn't reply. Not that day. Not the next. But on the 3rd day, I sent one word. Okay. We met at a quiet coffee shop. She wore a green coat, same color as the last time I saw her. But this time it looked like armor. She didn't smile. Didn't cry. She just said, "It's my fault. All of it." "What do you mean?" I asked. She sighed. "I didn't leave out of anger. I left because your mom told me to." I froze. I was scared. I felt overwhelmed. She saw that and used it. She said if I really loved you, I'd let you go. I stared at her. And you believed her? I was 25. Alone. She was convincing. She promised to keep it quiet if I just disappeared. Suddenly it all made sense. Why my mom never mentioned her. Why Emily left so coldly. My mother didn't lose her. She erased her. "You told her I sold the app," I said. She nodded. I was mad. I wanted her to remember me. Instead, she turned it into a reason to ask for more. "Why tell me now?" I asked. "Because I was wrong. And because you deserve someone on your side." That night, we stayed up and looked through years of messages. She helped me build a timeline of every guilt trip, every money request, every lie. I sent it all to 2 people. My lawyer. And my friend Owen, a journalist. 5 days later, the article went live. The price of being generous. A family sues their own son for cutting off their luxury. It had screenshots of texts. Audio of my mom guilt-tripping Emily. Receipts of everything I'd paid. Even a video of Rachel saying, "He won't cut us off. He needs us." The story exploded. Rachel lost her brand deals. Uncle Steve got suspended. Dad's golf club dropped him. Mom deleted all her social media. The lawsuit? Quietly dropped. No apology. Just silence. But then one last letter came. Handwritten. 2 pages. From my mother. "No sorry. Just blame. You embarrassed us. We gave you everything. You're ungrateful." I read it once. Then burned it. Emily didn't leave this time. She didn't try to fix anything. She just stayed. No pressure. No demands. Just there. Not love. Not yet. But presence. And sometimes, presence is rarer than love. These days I live in a small place. No fancy pink house. No private chef. No constant calls asking for money or help. Just peace, books, music, and quiet. I open my own mail, make my own coffee, and decide who I let into my life. Sometimes someone asks me, "Do you miss them?" I smile and say no. Because I never really had them, just their expectations. Now I have something better. Peace and boundaries, things no one can buy. The world didn't change. I did. And that changed everything. At first, life felt strange, like the music suddenly stopped. No drama, no clapping. Just quiet. Just me. I started noticing things again. The morning light at 6:42 a.m. The sound of sparrows. The soft hum of a world that doesn't expect anything from me. For the first time, I wasn't performing, not for approval, love, or validation. I was just existing. And that felt powerful. I joined a community garden. Not because I suddenly loved plants, but because I missed doing something real. Getting my hands dirty with strangers who didn't care who I used to be felt good. No one asked what I owned or how much money I had. They just passed the shovel and talked about tomatoes. One woman there, Marta, 73 years old, runs the compost like a general. She once looked at me and said, "You look like a man who finally stopped running." She was right. It took me 38 years to stop. I started writing again. Not on a phone. Not on a laptop. With a pen. In an old notebook. Some days I write one line. Some days I fill pages. No one reads it. No one edits it. And for someone who used to explain every move, that freedom means everything. I stopped lying. Not just to others, to myself. I stopped saying, "I'm fine," when I wasn't. Stopped calling betrayal just bad communication. Stopped saying, "That's how family works," when I was being used. Now, if something feels wrong, I say it. And when someone crosses a line, I don't move the line. I walk away. Without guilt. Without explaining. Because no is a full sentence. And I've earned the right to say it. There's a bookstore I go to now. Old wood floors, smells like paper and peace. The owner, Jules, never asks what I do. He just nods and offers a coffee. Sometimes we talk about movies. Sometimes we talk about philosophy. Once, we sat for an hour discussing the difference between loneliness and solitude. He said, "Loneliness is feeling unseen. Solitude is choosing yourself." That stuck with me, because I used to be surrounded by people and still feel invisible. Now I sit alone with a book and feel whole. I made 3 new friends this year. Not one asked what I drive. None of them follow me online. We meet on Sundays, talk about music, or sit in silence. It's not flashy. It's not forced. But it's real. And real is something I didn't even know I was missing. Emily lives a few blocks away now. We don't use labels. No pressure. No pretending. Some nights she brings tea. Some nights I bring a book. We laugh more than we talk. We're not rebuilding what we had. We're building something better. Something honest. No games. No roles. Just presence. The old me? He's still here, quieter now. Not begging for attention. Not chasing love. Just healing. And when I pass a mirror, I nod at him. Not to forget him, but to thank him. He survived what I didn't know I needed to escape. Sometimes old friends message me. They say, "Miss you, man. Let's catch up." I don't reply. Not out of anger, but because I don't need to fill every silence anymore. Last week, I saw a young guy at the garden. He looked lost. Out of place. Kept checking his phone. I handed him a trowel. "Start with basil," I said. "It grows fast. Feels like progress." He nodded. Didn't ask who I was. Didn't care. Good. The world hasn't changed much. People still take. Families still manipulate. The noise, the hunger, the pressure to buy love, it's all still there. But I've changed. I don't say yes out of guilt anymore. I don't fake grief to make others feel better. I don't chase connection that hurts. I just live. Some days that's hard. But most days, it's free. So if you ask me, do you regret walking out of that dinner? My answer is simple. No. I only regret not walking out sooner.